If you've ever been betrayed by the painful circumstance of infidelity, if you've ever been cheated on, if you have experienced adultery, all of those terms are interchangeable, but the one thing that's true is it hurts. It's painful. I've worked with couples for a long time, and I tell you, it is one of the most excruciating things to watch people go through. And the biggest question that comes up is why? Why did my spouse cheat on me? Or even why did I cheat on my spouse? And in this video, we're going to talk about some reasons why people cheat. Stay tuned. We'll jump into it in a moment. Hey, welcome to this little space where I call it a minute for your marriage. It's usually a few minutes, but it's really valuable. I think it's helpful to you, and I hope it's helpful to you. My name is Rod Hairston. I'm a marriage coach. I'm a pastor. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. But in this space in particular, I serve as a marriage coach. I'd like to be a marriage coach to you for a few minutes, if you don't mind. And today we're talking about infidelity, about the betrayal that happens, this painful, excruciating experience when a spouse cheats on their spouse. And how does that go? Why does that happen? Before we get into the meat of our time, I do want to invite you to like, share, subscribe. If you've already been on this channel, I think you probably know there's some helpful content. And if you let me know some other things you'd like me to address on this channel, I would love to build video content to serve those needs. I also want to remind you that I have a free workshop slash checklist. We call it the Happy Marriage Workshop, and you can access that right below in the notes. Just click on the link, go there, get it. It's free. It's just for you. In that workshop, I basically help you see 6 stages or 6 really important areas in the marriage relationship that if you get focused on them, you can really transform your marriage. Hey, it's not rocket science, but it's not easy. I know that, right? It's a difficult journey sometimes in marriage, and we need a playbook. We need guidelines. We need a structure for how to make our marriages better. And my free Happy Marriage Workshop is designed just to do that. It is the basis for all of my coaching, all of my work with couples, where we take a clear set of principles to help couples get better, to get closer, to get reconnected to one another. So check that out. Let's get into the teaching now. So what about cheating, infidelity, adultery, betrayal? Why does it happen? Have you been wondering that yourself? I think a lot of people wonder it, whether you've experienced it or not, whether you're the one who committed the adultery or the one who was on the painful end of that experience. This is not an exclusive list today as to why it happens, but I want to give you some insights because I think these are really important to grasp. Let me say right at the outset, I don't vilify anyone who has committed adultery. I think there's some important things to understand as to why people do it. We don't take it lightly. It's not that it's not immoral, because it is immoral. It's not that it's not painful, because it's amazingly painful for people who are on the other end. It destroys families. It destroys marriages. It destroys futures. It destroys generations. So it is a serious offense to the marriage covenant, the marriage relationship. And so we have to talk about it. But so often we talk about infidelity only from the perspective of right or wrong, good person, bad person, who does that. you're cruddy, what a horrible person you must be to have done that. I kind of used to be in that camp, but the more I've worked with couples over the last 30 years, the less I'm in that camp. I think it's much more complex. And I think just as the person who has been betrayed needs compassion and empathy to help them heal, oftentimes the person who has done the betrayal, done the adultery, needs some of that as well. Again, we don't minimize the wrong of it, the pain that it causes in any way, but I want to broaden your perspective a little bit, perhaps, as we look at this very complex challenge. All right, so here is the first reason, one of the most important reasons I believe why people do commit adultery, and that is because of broken attachments in their lives. Now, this is related to much of what I'm going to say in the rest of this video, but you'd be amazed at when relationships, core, primary, essential relationships fail in a person's life, particularly in their childhood, where they needed a mom, dad to really be there for them, to support them, to really nurture them relationally and emotionally and spiritually and otherwise. And that person was not there or was there in a harsh way. That necessary attachment becomes severed oftentimes, or creates a really poor way of relating to other people. That can create a mess in a marriage. So often the pain of the broken attachment comes into the marriage, right? So stealthily, like they didn't even know they were bringing it with them, but they brought it with them. And the moment something touches on that, makes that person vulnerable to seek a solution that is both sinful, wrong, and insufficient in every way. They seek a solution trying to anesthetize the pain of those broken attachments. I hope this is making sense to you. This is not an excuse. None of these are excuses. These are simply explanations as to what happens from an emotional, relational standpoint that causes people to seek shelter or solace in an adulterous encounter, whether that's a one-night stand or whether that is an ongoing adulterous relationship. All right, here's the next one, anger. You'd be amazed. Anger is related to these broken attachments, but people who have unaddressed anger challenges oftentimes look for relief in a place where they can express their rage, sadly, unfortunately. And I'm not saying, again, that it's right. I'm just saying this is what happens. I've worked with clients who've had significant anger issues because of unmet needs, because of trauma in their upbringing that had never gone addressed. And they showed up in life as an angry person. And sometimes people show up as angry people and you can't see it. But they, after getting married, will oftentimes continue to express that anger somewhere else. And oftentimes adulterous behavior is a place where they express that anger. So anger, these broken attachments, low self-esteem or insecurity. You'd be amazed at how vulnerable people become when their self-esteem is shattered. And it's not necessarily that it's shattered by a spouse, though that could be a part of the equation, but it is just shattered, maybe from loss of employment, maybe from, loss of financial wherewithal. If a person is suffering from low self-esteem or they're very insecure, an adulterous encounter, one time, a few times, can feel like this sort of fake salve to their fragile ego. And they go for it. They bite the apple, if you will. And sometimes they bite several of those apples, trying to fix their low self-esteem. By the way, these explanations that I'm sharing with you as to why people commit adultery are not very different from why people are addicted to sex and to pornography. Many of the men that I've worked with over the years have shared that when they feel really low, they go to a place privately on their computer and they look at pornography. This is happening with men in Fortune 500 companies who are ballers in big boardrooms. It's happening with pastors all over our country. This is a real issue. When people feel terribly about themselves, they look for something to boost how they feel about themselves. And this is not just men, it's also women. So for those of you who are like, yeah, they're such cruddy guys. Well, we're people. And so this happens for women, it happens for men for all of these reasons. How about emotional neglect? And I'm talking about the adult version. When a person is neglected emotionally, they can be set up for an affair. When they feel neglected, right? When they either are neglected or feel neglected. And those are not always the same thing. Sometimes they are being neglected. Sometimes they simply feel neglected. Neglected. Now, when adultery happens, I think it's important, I say this in some of my other videos, right? I think it's important that both people look for where perhaps they have made the contribution to the environment that produces or stokes the embers of an affair. And so sometimes a person has been neglected emotionally. Busyness of work, not really attending to relationship, it can really create a tough environment, and people will go outside of their marriage looking to feel like they're not neglected, like somebody sees them, somebody cares about them, that they're not unknown, that they're not unthought of. You'd be amazed how that can happen in a great marriage, a good-looking marriage, right? You think, man, they seem like they're such a together couple, like they're a power couple, whatever that is. But if someone is feeling emotionally neglected, they are vulnerable to an affair. Like, think about people who have affairs with men or women on their jobs. I've had clients who've gone through this, where one spouse left because they felt neglected, and they married somebody else that they worked with. They were around them all day long, conversations, eventually the sharing of intimate sort of exchanges. Yeah, that's a real thing. Is there emotional neglect in your life or in your marriage relationship? If so, I want to encourage you, right, to attend to that, right, to attend to each other's emotional needs. Let me give you one or two other reasons why people commit adultery. How about feeling, well, sort of the same idea of emotional neglect, but feeling like you don't get me. You don't get me, right? When you live in close proximity to someone who you can't really share your closest, your most important experiences with, can't share your mind with them, can't share your ideas with them. One's too busy with work, or the other might be too busy with the babies, with the kids. And so they don't have a place to really process and to feel sort of valued, connected, known, like gotten. Because one of the most challenging things that can happen in your marriage is for you or your spouse to feel like, I love this person, but they don't really get me. They don't really get me. And so someone will whisper in their ear or give them their ear in such a way that they feel like, oh, this person really gets me. They understand me. And there's something powerful about being and feeling known, feeling like somebody really, really gets you. I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you. I want to ask you. I want to beg you. I want to beseech you. All of those words, right? I want to encourage you. Study your spouse and let them know that you see them. Ask them, like, stay curious about them. So what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? My wife asked me one of the most amazing questions today over breakfast, actually. She said, what makes you feel accomplished? It's like, She's like, what makes you feel accomplished? And I took a moment, thought about it as I was eating my eggs. I said, you know what? These two things make me feel accomplished. And I began to share with her. And let me tell you how much that question meant to me. That question meant I care to know you. I care to understand you. I'm still curious about you. And so that was a way that she made me feel known, seen. She gave me this whole sense that she got me. At least she wanted to get me. Let me just say this about getting your spouse. They need to know that you want to get them, right? Like you don't see them as weird, crazy, what's wrong with you? Nobody does that, right? When you dismiss your spouse, that starts taking them to a place of feeling unseen and emotionally neglected. Honor the uniqueness in your spouse. Honor their unique ways. I'm not saying honor sinful proclivities. I'm not saying honor wrong stuff. I'm saying honor the uniqueness of the person. Because if I have to be you, or if you have to be me, like me, and vice versa, then there's no way we can fully express ourselves. Maturity, emotional maturity is I value the unique person that you are, and you value the unique person that I am, and therefore we can have a richer relationship. Let me give you one last reason, and I think this is super important. Where there is addiction, whether that's sex addiction, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, work addiction, approval addiction, where there is addiction, there is potential for adultery, because addictions never live alone. They always look for other places to go, to live. So yes, absolutely true that our addictions are constantly looking for other places to wreak havoc. That's a good way to say it. And so oftentimes addictions lead to adultery. So I hope that this gives you sort of an expanded understanding. If you have suffered from some sort of betrayal, adultery, infidelity, my heart goes out to you. If you are in the midst of it, my heart goes out to you. And guess what I want you to know? You can recover from it. You can get over it. I don't want to say get over it. You can get through it, and you can get better in spite of it. You can absolutely recover. In a future video, and I think this would be helpful to you, I want to talk to you about what the key components are. What are the stages to go through so that you begin to recover from that betrayal? Hey, I'm so glad you were here, and I look forward to us being together again. Hey, don't forget the free Happy Marriage Workshop / checklist. Get that, it's free. And if I've added some value to your journey today of marriage, relationship, would you like, share, subscribe? I'd love to grow this channel so that we can reach as many people as possible. We want to strengthen marriages. I think it's still the most amazing relationship on the planet. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being here with me today.